Let's take a look at the top 5 highest graded defensive players according to PFF for the West Virginia Mountaineers in the season opening game of the 2023 season. Let's go! What's going on, Mountaineer Nation? Jordan Cruz back here with the Country Roads Webcast. And before I get into this video, I just want to give you guys a quick reminder. If you would do us a favor, hit that thumbs up button, give us a like on this video. It'll really help not only this video's performance, but future videos on the channel as well. And if you're a WVU fan and you haven't already, be sure hit that subscribe button. Helps us and it helps you, as it helps get more of this Mountaineer sports content out to Mountaineer Nation. Having said that, let's get into it. All right, so we've already detailed the top 5 highest graded offensive players for the Mountaineers in the season opening game against Penn State. I'll put a card for that video right here if you haven't had a chance to check that one out already. Be sure and do so, but here today we want to break down the top 5 highest defensive player grades for West Virginia in that same season opening contest. This, of course, according to PFF. I'm sure if you guys followed along this series last season, you're very familiar with this. Just going to share the 5 players with the highest defensive grades for the Mountaineers in the first game of the season. So with no further ado, let's lead it off here at number 5, and it's a transfer in for the Mountaineers at the bandit position, and that of course was Tyron Bradley, the transfer in from Abilene Christian. He comes out with a 64.9 defensive grade to be the 5th highest Mountaineer here in this season opening contest, and I think that that's a good sign for West Virginia. We know the bandit position is an area where they've been looking to get more and more production out of. It really produced a lot for this coaching staff during their time at Troy, but here at West Virginia, success at that position and seeing a player make an impact there has not happened very often. So seeing Tyron Bradley do some good things throughout the game was nice, and thus that leads to him being highly rated here by PFF as well, coming out as the 5th highest graded Mountaineer on defense in the season opener with that 64.9 defensive grade. And then next up at number 4, we have Beenie Bishop, the starting cornerback for the Mountaineers. We heard a lot about him throughout fall camp since he transferred in from Minnesota. He also was the kick returner for the Mountaineers. Didn't get a chance to return any of those as Penn State kicked all touchbacks in the game. However, the coaching staff has said they believe that he can be a weapon for the Mountaineers in the return game throughout this season, so keep your eyes out for that. But as far as his defensive play in the game, he had his hands on a couple different passes that he nearly intercepted, probably should have intercepted, but being in that right position really allowed him to grade out highly here, as you see, with the 66.0 defensive grade. And I liked what I saw from Beenie Bishop Jr. overall. I think that he's going to be a good piece for the West Virginia secondary that, of course, let's be honest, we all know that is the area that really needs to improve if this team wants to find success throughout this season. And that first game left a little bit to be desired in that back end. However, it looks like Beenie Bishop does have some playmaking capabilities, the way that he jumped those passes that he had a chance to intercept, one off of a tipped ball, and that showed him being a little bit opportunistic, diving, nearly hauling that one in. And the other I was really impressed by was there in the end zone when he completely undercut the route and had that interception right in his hands as well. So I think that throughout this season, I would not be surprised to see Beenie Bishop pick off a couple passes for the Mountaineers, and he comes out as the 4th highest graded player on defense. Then here at number 3, we have our first of 2 defensive linemen we will see in the top 5 highest graded defensive players from the season opener. And this one is Hammond Russell, the 4th, coming out with a 69.5 defensive grade. And here's another player that we've been hearing positive reviews about throughout camp at that nose tackle position. I thought that he really did good when he got a chance to get in there. I thought all the interior defensive linemen for the Mountaineers really played well. I think they have some depth there between Mike Lockhart, Russell, and Fatorma Mulba, and I think that they did a great job slowing down 2 really good Penn State running backs. I think up until Penn State's final drive, they only had just over 100 yards rushing, and this is a Penn State team that racked up a ton of rushing yards last season, has a really strong rushing attack. So to see West Virginia be formidable against it, I think was a great thing to see. Really bodes well for those defensive linemen and how they may hold up this season, and I think Hammond Russell was going to be a big part of that defensive line group, and he showed up here in game 1. third highest defensive player grade with the 69.5. And then for our top two, we will see the other defensive lineman I was talking about that popped up here as one of the highest defensive grades for the Mountaineers. And I think this one's pretty cool because Fatorma Mulba, who you will see here coming out with a 72.5 defensive grade, actually transferred in this offseason from, you guessed it, Penn State. So facing his former team, he really proved to be a force in the snaps that he got in this game. And I think that he is a guy that can really eat up blockers in that interior for West Virginia. And as I said with Hammond Russell, that defensive line, I think they came to play in this season opener and just showcased some things that they can do for the rest of the season. I really like what I saw from both the defensive line and the linebackers for West Virginia. And Fatorma Mulba going up against his former team really showed that awesome strength that we've heard so much about and that power that he can bring to West Virginia's defensive line as he comes out as the second highest graded Mountaineer on defense with a 72.5 grade. And speaking of the linebackers standing out as well, I think the number one highest graded player on defense for the West Virginia Mountaineers should come as no surprise, and that is Lee Coba, coming out with an 82.1 defensive grade. Awesome game for Lee. We were expecting him to take a leap here in his second year in the program. He didn't play bad in his first year, but really thought he could be special this season. And I think in this first game, you saw why a lot of people believe that to be the case and why he's out to prove that that will be true and he will be a special all-conference type of player for the Mountaineers here at the linebacker position this season. But doing it in a surprising way, actually playing the will linebacker position instead of the Mike linebacker that he played all year last season. It was an interesting move by the Mountaineer staff, but one that I thought paid off well, not only for Coba, but for Trey Lathan, who ended up playing the Mike linebacker position in this game. He had a good game as well. But as far as Lee Coba is concerned, whether he ends up playing the Mike or the will throughout the season for WVU, no matter where he lines up in that linebacking core, he's going to make an impact on this defense. I think he's one of the leaders of this defense, vocally and otherwise. He is a great player for the Mountaineers, and if the West Virginia defense wants to improve this season, I think they're going to go as Lee Coba goes, as you see him coming out as the highest graded West Virginia Mountaineer on defense in game one of the 2023 season with an 82.1 defensive grade. So there you have it, Mountaineer Nation, the top 5 highest graded Mountaineers on defense following the season opening game against Penn State. How are you feeling about the performance of these 5 players? Did you expect to see another name in here that wasn't on the list? However you're feeling, be sure let us know down there in the comments. We really appreciate those interactions as we continue to try and grow the Country Roads Webcast community throughout Mountaineer Nation. Having said that, as always, I'm Jordan Cruz, and until next time, let's go Mountaineers.